So I want to introduce our new read aloud. It's called The 100 Dresses by Eleanor Estes, and I'm going to read Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Wanda. Today, Monday, Wanda Petronsky was not in her seat. But nobody, not even Peggy and Madeline, the girls who started all the fun, noticed her absence. Usually Wanda sat in the next to last seat, in the last row in room 13. She sat in the corner of the room where the rough boys, who did not make good marks on their report cards, sat. The corner of the room where there was the most scuffling of feet, most roars of laughter, where anything funny was said, and the most mud and dirt was on the floor. Wanda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. On the contrary, she was very quiet and rarely said anything at all. And nobody had ever heard her laugh out loud. Sometimes she twisted her mouth into a crooked sort of smile, but that was all. Nobody knew exactly why Wanda sat in the seat, unless it was because she came all the way from Boggins Heights and her feet were usually caked with dry mud that she picked up coming down the country roads. Maybe the teacher liked to keep all of the children who were apt to come in with dirty shoes in one corner of the room. No one really thought much about Wanda Petronsky once she was in the classroom. The time they thought about her was outside of school hours. At noontime, when they were coming back to school, or in the morning, early before school began, when groups of 2 or 3 or even more would be talking and laughing on their way to the schoolyard. Then sometimes they waited for Wanda to have fun with her. The next day, Tuesday, Wanda was not in school again, and nobody noticed her absence again except the teacher, probably Big Bill Byron, who sat in the seat behind Wanda's and who could now put his long legs around her empty desk, one on each side, and sit there like a frog, to the great entertainment of all of his classmates in the corner of the room. But on Wednesday, Peggy and Maddie, who sat in the front row along with the other children who got good marks and didn't track in a whole lot of mud, did finally notice that Wanda wasn't there. Peggy was the most popular girl in school. She was pretty, she had many pretty clothes, and her autumn hair was curly. Maddie was her closest and best friend. The reason Peggy and Maddie noticed Wanda's absence was because Wanda had made them late to school. They waited and waited for Wanda to have some fun with her, and she hadn't come. They kept thinking she'd come at any minute, and then they saw Jack Beggles running to school. His necktie was askew and his cap at a precarious tilt. They knew it must be late, for he always managed to slide into his chair exactly when the bell rang, though he were making a touchdown. But still they waited one more minute and one more, hoping she'd come. But finally they had to race off without seeing her. The 2 girls reached their classrooms after the door had been closed. The children were reciting in unison the Gettysburg Address, for that was the way Miss Mason always began her session. Peggy and Maddie slipped into their chairs just as the class was saying the last lines. That those dead shall not have died in vain, that the nation shall, under God, have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. And that is the end of chapter 1.